climbing in. This is what I do.
So fun.
At the end of the night when the kids are asleep, I
climb in.
I climb into this spot on the couch.
Yeah.
And this is like where Creative Pathways was born.
Incredible.
Basically. Just like surrounded in my sketchbooks.
Yeah.
I spread everything out. I call it my sketchbook nest.
Yeah. I think I've seen pictures of this.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes I'm like, Jeff, can you please? You just have to document this.
It's so funny when you're like so deep in the thing you're doing and you're like, I wish I could take a picture of myself doing this. Because sometimes like Maisie will jump on Maisie's my cat. To the audience, will jump on my shoulders when I'm like working in the studio, and she'll just like sit there for a bit.
That's amazing.
And it's so funny because it's like I can't also take a picture of this happening, but like I need to find a way to do that because but if Kevin comes in, she'll jump away, you know. So it's like this thing that like I can't capture.
You need to set up just set up a camera.
Yeah, that's true.
People love a little time lapse pottery video.
That's
anyway.
True. Yeah, well, it's funny. Last time I did a throwing video, I was trying to catch her jumping on me because she was up on the top shelf. She'll like jump on the shelf behind me, and she uses me as like a jumping board. So she'll like jump like off my back up top, and then jump, which like is fine because I can see her coming, and so I know to brace myself. And so if I'm and it's when I'm on the wheel, so I'm like in the middle of a pole or something, and she jumps on me, but I'm like expecting it. But then she jumps from the top off me to get to the floor, and I'm not expecting that. So I've learned to like listen for a movement on the top shelf and see if she's like maybe coming so I can like brace for it. Because she's like it's like someone throws a 10-pound cat at your back when you're in the middle of throwing.
God. Okay, so can you not listen to music in the studio? Like, what's your audio experience other than just being on guard for cat attacks?
No, I'm still listening to audiobooks mostly lately.
Okay.
But usually I have like one headphone in, so then I can like hear what's happening. But I kind of do that anyway because it's like, I don't know, I like to kind of know what's going on. Yeah. I usually don't like do full both headphones. Yeah, because they're also like the sound canceling, and I feel like I want to know more than that. Right. So I don't like canceling too much sound. I want to know what's going on around me a little bit more.
It's funny because both of us work in home studios, but even still.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when I had a non-home studio, I was more like, okay, throw both headphones in. Because, like, it's not my responsibility what's happening here. You know what I mean? It's like, if things are going on, I'm just checked out of it anyway. If the other people are, whatever, it's like not my deal.
This is an interesting dynamic when you think about safety concerns. Because I would think we're more safe at home, so we don't need to listen to anything. And when you're out in the world, maybe you should be more aware.
Well, so, right?
Let's talk about true crime, people.
But the cats aren't attacking me.
Right, this is true.
At the outside studios. No, but like, it was like an enclosed place. Yeah. So it wasn't like people could come and go. I mean, people come and go, but it was like only studio renters. So I'm talking about Andom. So it was just like a very like small, like known group of people.
Okay, this is true. Yeah, Andom is...
So it's not like a public space where like I'm worried about strangers who are like, you know, unvetted. I guess anyone can be a murderer, but...
You never know.
I just started the new season.
Sherelle and Karen, are you vetting for murderers before you sign up your studio people? I also want to give another shout out to Maisie, because if anyone wants to see how cute Maisie Girl is, she actually made it onto my website.
Oh yeah, I know. So excited to see that.
creative-pathways.com. And if you go to the sketchbook project, one of the sketchbooks, I think maybe more than one of them, but at least one of them has a sticker that some friends made of Maisie. So she made it onto the cover of a sketchbook, and then I end up naming the sketchbooks basically after whatever the vibe of the cover gives me eventually. So one of them is just straight up called Maisie. So look for that one. Cute. And you can see the cutie pie. That is when she's about a third of the weight, though.
Yeah. Picture her bigger and then thrown at your back. And that's the experience I've been having. But I like love it anyway. Yeah. It's like so cute.
Yeah.
And like, the other day I was like working in the studio, and she likes to jump up on once she's done like messing with me, she'll get on the shelf behind, because she's a little kitten, so she just wants to mess with everything. She'll try to drink things that I have like in the studio. She'll eat things. So it's like, once she's done with like all her like mischief, she'll get up on the shelf and just like take a nap, usually behind me, like up where like the pots are. Yeah. And she's like, so far not really broken anything. Yeah. But the other day I was hearing a funny sound. I turned around and she's like gnawing on the side of this like big greenware bowl that I had.
Oh no.
And it was like a big serving bowl that had like a cut rim. So it was like a lot of work had already gone into it. And she's just like chewing on it. It was like, it had dried out a lot, but it was like wet again.
No.
Chewing. And like, because it was a scalloped rim, I could kind of just like shave it down and fix it and it was fine.
Okay.
But yeah, so even that she didn't break it, but it was a funny moment of like, can you just not like be chomping on this? Like,
I know, and you've had pieces that she stepped on before too.
Yep. And so Obi, our old cat, your family cat, obviously, he stepped in a plate that I kept. Because it was when he was older, and I was like, I know that I'm going to cherish this forever, so like this one is now my plate, and I use it all the time, so actually it has like a little paw print in it. And it was wood-fired, so it's like a funny thing where there's like a little cat print in like this like wood-fired. But she stepped on things, but usually I can kind of like shave it out. It's funny, people tell me to like keep it. There'd be too many cat paws. Like, I can't keep them all, you know?
I can't believe how often she's messing with your work.
Yeah.
This is hilarious. I love a studio pet, though. When I was in college, when I was going to Massasoit, I was living in an apartment in Providence, commuting. I was also working in Narragansett at the time.
Oh, cool.
So I was commuting to Massasoit and Canton, then back home to Providence, and then to Narragansett to work. It was like so much driving. My little 99 Toyota Corolla. That car did so well. But anyway, when I lived in my apartment, one of my roommates was on study abroad. So we had this extra bedroom. And we were holding it for him until he got back. So his mattress was pushed up against the wall. And I was not in ceramics. I was studying like painting and drawing at that time. And my cat Winston would hang out with me, and same thing. He wanted to be up high as well. And so he would climb up the mattress and sit way up high on top of the mattress and just like hang out with me. It's nice to have a buddy. Sometimes I think about like wanting a studio dog.
Yeah.
You know, like having a little pup hang out.
Totally.
But then also it's like my studio's such a mess. They're so dusty. I really like take advantage of the laziness level I can get into in my pottery studio because it's just me. So it's like I really should wipe things down at the end, but I don't. I work all the way up until I have to run out and go to the bus. But then I usually start my next session by cleaning.
Same. Yeah.
But I feel like an animal or something, you don't want to get their fur covered.
Yeah. So I do the same, but our little home studio, I can close the door. So it's just like a little like kind of almost like Three Seasons like porchy thing, which you've seen. But so I just close the door and then it's good. But she does sometimes like, well, and also I don't have a sink and you don't have a sink either, so that makes it a little harder. It's funny, I was thinking about like, I miss having, in some ways, like the luxury of being able to clean really well.
Yes.
And in some ways, like, I like the luxury of not having to clean really well. It's like both. Yeah. Because I do just kind of like work until I'm like too tired and then am done. Whereas before it was like work until I still have enough energy to clean for 20 minutes, you know? But then it is a nice way to kind of start in the studio, to kind of just like clean and like clear things out and like just like, and then get going. I've heard people say before, like, it's nice to leave yourself something that's kind of like halfway through the process so that when you get to a studio, you don't have that blank page like feeling. Which like I'm always have like usually deadline, so I usually am not having that problem, but it's kind of nice to start with something that like is an easy in. You know, you can just like, oh, I just start cleaning, and then you're in the space, your brain's kind of like working on what you want to do next, and next thing you know, you're like ready to hit it for real. And also with ceramics, everything is so dependent on where everything is with their dry time. So I feel like the first time you get into the studio anyway, you're kind of like opening up the plastic wrap off things. If you had been letting things sit, check where they are, make sure everything's good, and kind of get the work all organized wherever it needs to be in its production line. And so you can that's kind of like a part of that whole process. Okay, we need to reset and introduce you. We're gonna start over.
Okay.
Hey.
What's up? Let's chat. Kaila Gilmore. Which is so fun saying.
I know.
Kaila Gilmore. So obviously we're super close. If you guys don't know Kaila, you're just meeting her. This is my bestie turned sister-in-law. Boop, boop. Because I did that. I set up Hazel. Oh my God. I do that. Kaila and my brother. But I was sure to let everyone know at every family party and at your wedding and whenever anyone meets you that you were mine first.
Yeah.
It's important. Holding out to my claim. Because honestly, though, I feel like whenever I tell anyone, like, that is so exciting. If you get one of your friends to become into your family, it's like a dream. I mean, that's what you say growing up with your girlfriends. Like, oh, how do we get to be the same family? Oh, you can marry my sibling. Or
Totally. I know. Yeah. Couldn't have, I don't know, made that happen except to make it happen, I guess. I don't know. It's like one of those things that, like, it's like the dream.
I know. It's truly. So great. Yeah. So Kaila and I met when we were taking a pottery class. Mm-hmm. So that was in 2015. We were taking a pottery class at Local Pottery in Norwell and just really hit it off. We both had some prior experience, but that was a great community studio for us to sink into at the time. We both eventually ended up working there and really playing some pivotal roles in the business for periods of time and sort of like launched our ceramics careers from there. And I feel like sort of a lot of potters' dream or any artist's dream is to have a home studio. Mm-hmm. So we've both finally made it to that place where we're making work in our homes. And ceramics, it's so great too, because again, you have to like stop mid-process. It's not like you just start and finish a mug. It takes like weeks or maybe even a month to make one piece. So be able to have the work in your home and sort of usher it delicately through that process is so huge. And I definitely feel like both of our work has grown a lot since going into our home studios. And so now you're working full-time for Clay Lounge in Boston, which has their premier location in SoA in the South End. So if you're going into Harrison Ave for all the open studios in Boston, like that's pretty much the neighborhood in Boston to go see art. So pop in anytime. There you can purchase both Kaila and I's art is on display in the front gallery section of the studio. And then it's mostly just tons and tons of classes going on all the time. Really great small team that due to fantastic vibes and smart business planning, Jessie, the owner, was able to open a second location in Somerville. Are we at a year yet on
Just
that?
about, yeah, in May.
Okay.
May, will be a year. So the Somerville Open Studios, we're having like a whole big event and we're going to do like an anniversary party.
Great.
To kind of celebrate, yeah.
And are you primarily working at the Somerville location? Are you kind of split between the two locations?
Yeah, I'm every other day actually. So,
okay.
So I'm kind of split. So I'm like, I teach only at Boston, but I do student scheduling for both, and I'm kind of back and forth with both. So one of the things that's fun about that is like I work with different people every day. So like kind of like I have like the days that I work with like almost each person who works there, but then like I almost never see someone twice a week, which is like kind of funny, you know. It's kind of like a fun way to kind of like bop around. But that's
great. So you're running all the scheduling, managing the very long wait list, although just because it's long, don't let that prevent you from adding yourself to it, because who knows when another opportunity might pop up. You just want to get yourself on the list, and that's for the weekly classes. But you guys have different workshops and things like that people can get involved.
Totally.
And I know you guys will book groups sometimes too. So I've been in there before doing, swapping work in the gallery, and there's been a bunch of coworkers in for like a team building thing.
Yeah, it's super fun. So so through the week we have like all the recurring classes happen like pretty much every day. We have at least one recurring class, sometimes two, and then we have like weekly one-time classes. So you can come with just like a friend or a date or something like that, or just on your own. We get plenty of people come by themselves, and you make like 2 pieces, and then we finish up the rest for you. So actually, a lot of what we do through the week is like processing those pieces, because through the week we probably have like around 100 or so individual pieces that come through from those classes. So we have a ton of those classes, and you can usually pop in to those pretty easily on the schedule. So you can schedule them right online, and usually we have availability in like the next few weeks, like usually not the same week, but like the week or two after, usually there's something open, and at both studios those are options. And then we do the same style of class where you just come one time and then we finish up the rest for you for like corporate events, birthday parties, stuff like that. So,
and you have people working on the wheel for these classes you're talking about, which I feel like is a really big thing to say because it's really tough to sit down at a pottery wheel and actually make something. I've equated it to playing the violin before. There's not specific frets or like, it's not like there's different gears that you lock into. Your pedal is going to make it go faster or slower. Your hands are going faster and slower. Like there's so many little things to change. And when I'm starting someone for a private lesson, I have them on the wheel with me sitting right there with them for 3 hours for the first half of their beginner session with me. But these one-time workshops you guys do are instructed to such an amazing degree. I've been in there, I've heard these classes happening, and I am always listening and trying to take notes for myself as a teacher, because the way they have it set up at Clay Lounge is it's a long row, like 2 rows around
like center long, kind of like almost like bench style table. It's like a low kind of like
one low long bench, and then wheels, so everyone's facing each other in a long line, and then the instructor's at the end. And the instructor is both demonstrating and talking through with such precision. How do you guys get that the dialogue set for that? Because you guys also do a lot of teacher training for teachers who want to come in and learn, but also just training your own staff. Like, how do you do that? Is there a script? Are you giving people stuff written out? Or like, how? Because I need to read it so I can be a better teacher. Honestly, it's so good.
It's a great question. So actually that's a conversation we were having a lot in the last like year or so, because we've been training a lot of new people, especially with the new studio opening. We need a bunch of teachers. So we always have, I think right now we have like maybe like almost 20 people on staff total, maybe just a little less, maybe like more like 15. But so we have like a handful of full-time and then a lot of just teachers who come to teach just their classes. So we've been training a bunch in the last couple of years. And so we actually made a video. So we did a video for kind of like our most important demos. So we have a throwing, hand building, and glazing demo. And so we recorded, edited, have it on YouTube. I don't remember if it's like available for everyone to see, but we have like the links that we're sharing with our teachers, so people can kind of like watch it and practice. And so we send it to people before they come in for like their sort of like audition, so they can like practice a little bit. But we also want people to make it their own. So when I've been training with people, there's kind of a tendency to want to use the exact words that you're given. So, because you want to like do it right and get a good grade, kind of, you want to pass and like be able to be the teacher. So there's kind of a tendency to like want to copy like the way that we're explaining it. But we really don't want it to feel like, well, there's 2 problems with that. One is we don't want it to feel like cookie cutter. We want it to feel like an authentic experience that you're having. And then also, like, as a teacher, if that's not the way that makes sense to you, you're going to forget. And when you're in front of people and you're kind of a little bit stressed out, a little flustered, if you have, like, maybe a difficult class for one reason or another, and there's, any number of reasons that could be happening, like, you might be like, oh, I don't remember how to make the transition from this to that. Versus if you go back to just the way that you throw, then like and try to break that down and explain it, it's always intuitive. You're always going to remember the next step. You're always going to be able to go, oh, whoops, someone interrupted and asked me a question that was unrelated, and where was I? And you can just look at the clay and go, oh, I know what I would do next, and so I'll just explain that. And so it's nice to kind of like give teachers, I like to think like empower teachers to bring their own kind of like flavor to it. But we have like kind of figured out just from doing it for a long time now. I've been teaching there for just about I think 4 years actually, because I've been there full time for almost 2.5, almost 3 years, and so I was teaching before that as well. And so you just like every time you do a class, it's kind of like a focus group, because you can try something and then see like, okay, out of these 12 people, did like 6 of them not understand what I was talking about, you know, and then like, okay, that's no good. You can try out like jokes that way too. Sometimes I'll like try a new joke with a group, and like my like kind of personal thing is like I'll try a joke with like maybe 3 groups, and if like none of them laughed, I'm gonna drop that joke. It's not a good joke anymore.
Stop. You're using this as like stand-up rehearsal. What do you think you got a good solid minute yet, or what?
I think kind of. I've definitely dropped some jokes.
Oh my god.
The one that I like a lot, because sometimes it's like the teacher thinks it's funny, but like the students don't really. There's one where like the bats, like, so we put bats on the wheel before people throw. A lot of times people like don't put them on right, and like they can fly off. Mm-hmm. And so I for a while I used to say for 4 classes, because I dropped it because no one was laughing, I said they don't make very good frisbees, so we don't want them to go flying, which I think is funny. I think it's funny, but no one thought it was funny, so I stopped saying it.
Oh no. Just got dead air.
Yeah. Which is so funny because you know, I've done those classes multiple times a week for like, you know, years now. So I'm like, you know, having fun. But people are stressed. They're a little nervous. Yeah. They're not used to learning this way. Right. So they're all a little bit like,
tough crowd.
It's a tough crowd because they're not ready to laugh, you know? So like they might have like kind of been like, oh, cute or something, but they're like not laughing, you know?
Like, listen, lady.
You know, like moving on.
It's a bucket list experience. I need this to go well.
Totally. And it's funny because like you'll tell people, a big part of teaching something that's really tricky to people right away is like that violin, you know, analogy is like, it's hard to do. It doesn't look hard to do. Right. And it's not hard to understand. Like, this is what I've actually started to say to people, is it's really not hard to understand on an intellectual level. You know, you put it in the center of the wheel and you squeeze it until it becomes the shape you like, you know, like it's kind of like ultimately like not that hard. Right. But your hands have no idea what they're doing. It's just so different than anything you've ever done with your hands, typically, if you've not done it before. So you're thinking the right thing, but your hands are like these like little, you know, I don't know, deer that were just born 5 seconds ago. You know, they're just clumsy. They don't know what they're doing. Their limbs are too long, you know, all these funny things. So like it's just happening before you even know, like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Why did that happen that way? So I think giving people that helps a lot because they're like, I do get it. So, like, saying, like, no, you don't isn't helpful because they're like, no, I get it.
It's like, yes, you do, but your hands
haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Sometimes I'll be getting someone started on the wheel and they keep throwing the same mistake over and over again. And at some point, I'm just like, okay, so you see how that groove on the side of the pot is the exact shape of your finger. Right. It's because your finger made it. Right. So loosen up your finger a little bit from that one spot where it keeps going too far in. The mind-body connection is so huge. Yeah. With pottery, I find students who have taken the quickest to it are people who are really into fitness.
Oh, cool. Yeah, neat. That makes sense.
Like I have a PA, a couple PAs who have taken classes with me who did like sports medicine stuff before that, athletic. I remember once when I was at local pottery, there was a girl who was in high school coming up there and she was a competitive swimmer. Oh, neat. Very good. Cool. Think about like when I was
who are good at yoga.
Yes.
I feel like you get a lot of yoga pottery overlap.
Yeah. And it's that mind body connection. It's like if you're not used to training your body to do a certain thing, right? It's like you almost have to get that muscle going first. Yeah. But if you're already doing that, even if it's not a fine motor thing, you know how to keep your core centered.
Yes. That's a great point. And like use leverage in your body in different ways. Like we talk about that a lot because if you sometimes, especially for like new teachers, when someone asks like what's going wrong here, you're looking just at the clay, and then if you like zoom out to their hands and then zoom out to their elbows and then zoom out to their whole body, it's like, oh, like that's where it starts a lot of times. So like let's start there and then like go back to the clay and see if we've like solved the problem yet, you know? Yeah. Sometimes it's like tuck up closer to the wheel, lock your elbows in, you know, all
shove a brick underneath your foot. You gotta raise your foot up, you know, maybe change the angle of your stool.
Totally.
Yeah, it's true because you really do have to have that like center point marked out in yourself before you can be expected to get anything else on center. Right. I really love that though, telling people you do get it. This is not intellectually complicated. The trick is training your hand.
Yeah.
So it's like training that mind-body connection. And actually, shout out to Jake, the PA who I referenced.
Yeah.
He taught me the word proprioception.
Ooh, I like
which
this
is
word.
like when my hands right now, I understand visually everything my hands are doing right now because of proprioception.
Okay, cool. So you're visualizing your hands even when you're not seeing them. So you like have a good sense of like my fingers are raised or whatever.
Yes, like I
cool.
understand physically what's happening in like a full context, even though I can't see this.
Cool, neat.
So that's what we're doing. We're training proprioception.
Proprioception. I'm gonna have to like write that down because I'm not gonna remember it later. But I like that a lot.
I use it all the time.
Yeah,
it really it's interesting because once you start thinking about it that way, there's all sorts of different things like knitting. Think about people who are knitting and they're not even looking. They're just going. Yeah. Like your hands can just do things on their own.
Totally.
Or even like weight training, right? Like I started weight training. I didn't even know what a deadlift was, but now I can do a kettlebell swing or, these different things and my body just knows how to do it. And like once you give yourself the time for that mind-body connection to happen, things start coming together so much more quickly, I feel.
Yeah, so cool. Sometimes I talk about it as like driving. Like when you first start driving, you're like so scared and like nervous. And like I remember like when I was brand new to driving, I like couldn't itch my nose because I was like afraid to take my hand off the wheel. You know what I mean? I was like, really quick. Yeah. And now like I like do this sometimes when I'm trying to explain to people in class like the practice part of it. But it's like, fast forward 10 years and you're like driving with like your foot out the window, you're eating a burrito, you're calling your mom, and then you get home and you're like, oh, how did I even get here? It's like it happened without even thinking about it too much, And it's kind of very similar concept, I think. Right?
And that's a beautiful place to get because now where we are in our pottery careers, we're sitting down to throw 20 pieces at a time. Yeah. And it's so nice to be able to pop down on the wheel and you just like can get into that zone so quickly at this point. Yeah. And it is such a beautiful place to be. Like that flow state comes very quickly with pottery. I think that's one of the reasons it's addictive. You're just like, I need to get on there. But like I am such a busybody. I probably have ADD and I've orchestrated my life around that. And
you're a Gemini, right?
Yes, I'm a Gemini. Right. I am all over the place and I have made it work for me. I love it. I have all my different jobs. I do this, I do that. I'm in the garden. I'm here. I'm going to send a picture of like a 360 so you guys can see the chaos in my home, all the stuff everywhere. But like, this is how I like it. Okay. I like stuff everywhere. But when I'm doing pottery, it's almost built in forced time to be like, okay.
Your hands are dirty. You can't do anything else.
I'm covered in mud. I can't do anything else. And I love that. So while Creative Pathways is sort of taking off in its own direction where I'm using multimedia, collage, I'm getting back into paint, which is so exciting because that's where I started as a painter really for most of my life. Yeah. Before transitioning into ceramics. I'm not going to let go of pottery either. I'm loving seeing these two things kind of grow parallel to each other now.
Totally. Yeah.
Because that time on the wheel is when like a lot of my ideas come to me.
Yeah. And the growth of each business is kind of working together. Like you've been doing like collaborations on like one project and then that like creates like a wholesale order for you on something else, right? It's like it's really kind of like feeding each other. It's like and also internally, sounds like. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, it works. It works with like the rhythm of my life to be able to like sink into education stuff on parts of the season where people aren't buying pottery and, So cool. You transitioned into working full-time in the arts, in ceramic arts, like 5 years ago?
Early pandemic.
Yeah.
Crazy enough.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that was a COVID move. Yep. And before that, you were writing. So you were still flexing that creative muscle, just in a different way. Now, when we first met each other in that ceramics class, I was so intimidated by you because you walked in with a toolkit. You had all your own tools. I'm like, this girl knows what she's doing. So what was your experience in ceramics prior to that class?
Well, it's so funny. I'd only taken, so I'd taken some high school classes, but we didn't have a wheel. So there was no wheel throwing. But my ceramics teacher, Mr. Harding, who was incredible, I'd love to give him a shout out, just like really for me, like I was kind of nervous. I was super, super shy through high school. And in college, I really like worked hard to kind of like get over the social anxiety part of myself. But he was kind of the first person I feel like who gave me that thought of like, being willing to take risks is important. And like making mistakes is a positive thing. And when he first kind of said something like that in class, I was like, that sounds fake. I'm like, that's not real though. Like, that's nice to say, but that's like not real.
Yeah.
And it really took me a long time. But I think part of the reason I felt really connected to clay as a medium was like that thought process felt really safe in that space. And then I was able to kind of like shift and like see that work out well, you know, sometimes yes, sometimes no, but like being able to like kind of try something and see if it worked and then try something else and see if it worked and like kind of have that like feedback loop and like have a lot of failures but like learn from them and do whatever in this like very low consequence space. I think it helped me feel comfortable doing that in bigger parts of my life, you know. So I think like there was something to that in that developmental time of my life that was like really valuable. So I think like that's part of the reason it felt like an exciting thing to come back to in adulthood. So I went to school and I changed a little bit, initially education, and then I went to English, and then I was really focused on journalism. So I worked for a bit as a reporter on the South Shore. So that's when we met, I was still working in a newspaper.
Do you feel very back to your roots with my professional mics?
This is one of the first times I've been interviewed. I've done hundreds of interviews, right?
That's
but like,
right.
It's kind of a funny swap around.
Oh, okay.
But you're doing great.
I'm going to have you insert some questions that I should then repeat back to you.
Okay, mine were more like, would have like a little, notepad and be like, so how does this impact the local community? You know, so things like that. But anyway, so I forget where I was going with that. But
well, just kind of like how you started with ceramics. So you're doing it in high school, and that like opened up the door that you maybe weren't ready to go all the way through yet, but like with creativity, failure is a part of the process and it's not even bad. Like I talk a lot about how when I first decided I really wanted to focus on wax resist, and it's a specific type of glazing technique I'm doing in my pottery. That's how I choose to get very illustrative designs onto my pots. My work looked bad for like a good 2 years, but every batch that came out, I was taking notes. Okay, this worked, this didn't work. With this glaze, I have to wipe it down a little more. With that glaze, I don't. The wax should be this thick, not that thick. So it's like all of this. Yeah. But like...
Also, it didn't look bad.
Oh, thank you.
but you were refining.
Well, I should say it didn't look like it did in my head.
Yeah.
So I would spend 10 hours on one piece and it would come out looking completely different than what it was supposed to look like. But I had to go through that process.
Right.
And so with ceramics at your high school, it seems like you got that a little bit. And then you got into writing and journalism. And that's interesting to me too, because you're working on a team, really. You have editors, people are assigning things. So it's like creative freedom within some boundaries. Like you have a specific goal you're trying to achieve.
For sure. And it was such a good experience for me, especially like I said, coming from like being extremely shy, kind of needing to be out there and kind of like in kind of awkward situations a lot of times, kind of like talk to people about things that were like a little uncomfortable, sometimes extremely like vulnerable or like personal, or like very like official, you know. Like there were like some politicians I talked, whatever. It's like all these things that like really kind of like took me out of my comfort zone. And it's funny, I think that was really important for me, like developmentally as a human being. But that line of work wasn't right for me long term, which I just like felt at the time. So I went to marketing. But when I was working at the paper, I was like very stressed out. Because it was like a little bit stressful. So that's when I started taking pottery class, because I was like, I really want a hobby that's like kind of creative and like relaxing and just like very different than what I'm doing. And at the time I had a very flexible schedule. So I was able to like do the membership at local pottery and just kind of pop in partway through the day. I was like bopping around South Shore all the time for like interviews and stuff. So I could just pop in and like, I don't know, you throw something and then like run off, do an interview, come back, whatever. So it was really great to be able to start there, but then I'd taken one throwing class in college before that, so that was it. So, but then because I'd taken a class in college, you like had to buy a thing of tools. Okay, so that's why I had the tools. So, which is so funny. Okay. But it was kind of serendipitous though, because at the time I was making like very little money, and I was like, I can't really afford to take like a really nice pottery class, but the class was already started. It was like kind of partway through the series, and the only reason I was allowed in was that I had done one throwing session before in college. Oh, so I was let in halfway, and that was the only reason I was like, okay, I can kind of afford it now.
Gotcha.
So like I maybe wouldn't have taken a class if like not for like just that like series of events. And then I wouldn't have met you, and then I wouldn't have met Kevin, and then my whole life would be entirely different.
Isn't that wild?
In every way. Yeah.
It's like the butterfly effect is just happening every moment of every day, but when you can actually synthesize it down to one little thing.
So weird.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy. But yeah, so that's how I kind of got back into it. And I just like, I've never been quite so like enamored with something for so long. Like, I really loved creative writing for a really long time. But there, and like, you know, art generally, like I would do like drawings and stuff like that, but I never really felt like a finish line feeling on stuff, because it was kind of like I would write something and like, okay, that was like fun, and I'd get like really into the creative process of it, and then at least like for more creative writing aspects for the newspaper, there was like obviously the publishing, right, so that kind of had that feel to it, but for more like kind of creative endeavors, it was sort of like I would write it and then it would just like sit on my computer forever. Yeah. You know, or whatever. So, like, and you could go through the whole thing of, like, publishing something, but, I don't know, I was a teenager when I was doing that most, so, like, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
So, like, I wasn't really doing that, and, like, you know, I might get back to writing someday. It was a piece of, like, a creative expression that I really valued so much, and also the thing that was really good for me at the time was, like, you don't need a studio. You don't need equipment. You can just sit and with a pencil and paper and your brain, like, have this, like, full, robust, like, creative experience. And I feel like you were talking about, like, doing a lot of writing when you had your kids, right?
Yeah.
Early on, because, like, you can't get to a studio when you have, you know, a newborn pretty easily. So,
exactly. Yeah.
I see that as, like, a piece of, like, a future creative thing to get back into. But right now, with studio access, I'm on a wheel, you know?
I know. I feel the same way. Like, I feel painting coming back in. Yeah. I would love to get into creative writing again at some point, but it's just like creativity, it's going to come out anyway. Like, I have opened up the faucet for it to just come out however it's most convenient. And that's where the sketchbook project came from too, because I was just couldn't get to the pottery studio with my kids really little, had to get comfortable just leaning on my sketchbooks for that creative output. And then I had to get comfortable with kids scribbling on my work.
Right.
So then all of a sudden we have a collaborative sketchbook program that began.
Yeah.
And I know in your creative writing that we've talked about before, it's like entire worlds, stories, plots, character lines have all been developed. And I love that in your work now on your pottery, it seems like we're looking at a world. Like, I feel like it's there is a narrative there. You may not have made full characters and stories, but I feel like you are creating a world where it's not just at first it was the flowers and the moss and all of that, and you started getting this sort of like mystical landscape vibe, but now with your creatures, little frogs, and even the strawberries, the little flies, even all the little things, it's starting to I don't know, it just feels narrative in a way. And I don't know, I don't think my work is much more illustrative on my pottery, but I have those when I do those open mouth mugs, those like sassy, sexy mugs with the mouths on them in different positions. As they're going through the process, I feel like they all get their own little personalities. Like every time I come across I'm working on 20 pieces at a time, and so each one gets red, and then each one gets white, and then each one gets a layer of wax. And every time I come across each individual one, they sort of start like building in my head more.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how that is for you. Like, how is that narrative process coming through in your work right now?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I feel the same way. It's like I've been drawing, in my head, kind of like the same frog and same mouse, but every time there's like, oh, actually, nope, that's a different one, so it's like kind of like the same like bones of the drawing, like in a way. And part of that is like, I think we were chatting about it a little while ago, like I'm kind of I've been doing a lot of drawing practice, right, because I was doing for a long time kind of just the brush strokes were really kind of like the composition, because the brush strokes were like the leaves or the flowers or whatever, and so like the actual line work was like kind of loosey-goosey, and because it was florals it could be, but like now that you're doing like little guys, they kind of have to be proportional in the right way, to be cute. Otherwise, like they start not looking like a frog. Like I've done some frogs that like that face looks like a crocodile, or like that one looks like a snake or whatever. And so kind of getting like my kind of refining, just that same thing of like refining like the line work. So they definitely kind of each like end up having a little bit of their own personality. But in my head, they're kind of like the frogs are just like little dummies, right? Like the mice are always a little worried. So like they kind of have like little emotions attached to them for me. And I'm sure that'll kind of change as I sort of have them in like different positions or things like that as I kind of like find it. But I've always kind of pictured like when I was doing like the leaves and flowers with like the kind of like slip trailing lines, I always kind of pictured that as like the setting for the fable. So like I was kind of like had the feeling of like, okay, if you like continued walking down this path like through the pot, you'd find all this like life, right? All the little animals and like or like a little like magical scene or like whatever it is. So it kind of always had this like you're walking through the woods feeling, and like you don't know what's in the woods. It's kind of like they're getting quiet because you're walking by. Because I always really like that feeling. But then like this line of work I feel like is a little bit like either now you're welcome to be part of that world a little bit more. So like maybe you sat down and were quiet, and they all came out, and now you're seeing them, or you like continue just a little bit past, just a little bit further, and now like and then you found them and they're here and they're hanging out with you.
I love it.
So like I do kind of feel like it's for me it felt like a very natural evolution of like the thought process behind it. But I do, and it's funny, for like a long time I was kind of saying to myself like I think there's a point where I'm going to be doing sgraffito. I'm going to be doing animals. I've been thinking a lot about like fables and things like that, like and folk art and all these things. And so I think like it all, I like knew it was coming, but I didn't know when, I didn't know how. And then like switching studios, so coming to this home studio, every time I make a change in where I'm making my work changes. Yes. It just like happens. Yeah. And I've learned to like look forward to it versus like get worried about it. Or when I go through a big life change, it often kind of changes, which is like a nice thing, it's like I can express the same thought in a slightly different way. So I'm really excited to see where it's going, because it feels like just the very beginning, right? I've just had like maybe 5 batches or something, right, come out of this work so far. So it's like, it feels very early on still. I feel like there's a few things that I'm like really nailing down that I'm excited about. And then maybe words will come into it. And there are a lot of artists that are making really beautiful sgraffito work with like animals and words and things like that. That I'm like.
So sgraffito, for anyone who's not a pottery person, that's when you're carving in.
Yeah. So through, So you have a clay color of one color, you paint on a different color, and then you carve through that over color. Yeah. So then the line work is the color underneath.
And so since you work on dark clay, you're making your piece in dark clay. It's a lighter sort of like painted clay color on top. So when you're carving in, you're getting a nice traditional dark line popping out. Totally. Talking about the shape of your work too is something that's been coming up for me as you're talking about it, because it's these beautiful illustrations, but what are those illustrations going on, right? And so your work has also been changing in its shape and developing as work does. And I'm thinking about your cups, your little cups you've been making with those beautiful little foot rings. Yeah. So I mean, it's more than that. It's almost like they're set up a
like
little bit.
Goblet type. Yeah.
And it just feels to me like if there was some little community living out of the magical woods, that's what they would be drinking out of.
Yeah.
So it's like, it really does feel like your collectors are being welcomed into that world. They're not just viewing what you've drawn on the piece. They have the piece that these characters would have.
That's so fun. Yeah. What's funny is I've made that shape with my like slip trailing line of work, and it just kind of like didn't really sell. People were like, I don't know, liked them, but it was kind of, sometimes like you make a shape or something and you're like, I think this is so great, and then you bring it to a market and just like people kind of just don't really pay attention to it, and you're like, I don't know why people aren't into it, but they don't want to buy it, so I'll make this other thing more, so you kind of like shift as you make, if you're making to sell, based on what people are buying. But I just love that shape so much that I was like, I'm just gonna make it again. And so I made it again with this carving, and it's kind of popping off all of a sudden.
Right.
People are like really into it. I demoed it in my class last night, actually, with both my classes. And people were like, oh yeah, I saw that you made those, and I was curious how you did it.
Well, I'm curious how you did it. So are you, okay, so for people not watching, I'm like, how do I like talk about this? I don't even have
like
a visual
wine
reference.
cup type goblets with like little, like an extended foot.
Yeah. So it's like, it's almost like if you picture like a stemless wine glass, but it has a little like flared stem, but it's not a stem. It's just like, kind of like a little platform.
Wide little.
So are you throwing the bottom separate?
So I used to do it where I threw the cup and then flipped it, and then when it was just the right, the tricky bit of it is you gotta just the right dryness, flip it over, add a coil, and throw the coil off the bottom. So then you're kind of like throwing the bottom off the cup. That's quick, but you have to get it at just the right spot. So it's like a little annoying because like I'm kind of a little bit loosey-goosey with letting things dry.
So why does it have to be the exact part? Because I know that like we're attaching leather hard things together a lot, but is it because you need so much moisture to throw it?
So if you're throwing it off the cup, when the cup has to be firm enough to take that much pressure, because you're pushing down on it with a bit of force to like center that coil, and then it needs to be soft enough to attached to a soft piece of clay without cracking.
Right.
So it can't be too dry, it can't be too wet. So you have to get it like a hard leather hard, which is like absolutely doable, but I'm a little impatient. So I like kind of like make things a little faster than that if I can help it. So I've been, the last batch or two, I've been throwing just like leaving the bottom super thick. So I've been throwing the top just as is. So almost like you might make a lid jar this way. So you take the chunk of clay, like lift it up, throw the cup, and then you have a big chunk of clay at the bottom, and then you just trim that into the foot.
Oh, okay. So you're just like carving out the lower interior.
Yep. And it doesn't take that. It's, a little bit longer to trim.
Yeah.
But not so bad.
You inspired me to stop trimming.
Yeah.
When you were here last summer helping me work on that Levitate project. You were, I think at that point I was still trimming at that point. I was doing a really like a deep grooved carved lower half. But yeah, at that point you were like, I'm just throwing so I don't even have to trim anymore. I'm like, what? I was getting so close to it because I was completely trimming the exterior. So I was just trimming a tiny bit of the bottom. But all my recent work is just completely flat bottom, and it's like thrown just the right height. And that's that proprioception thing that it's like getting into the weeds here, but it's hard to know the right
get it perfect
thickness on the bottom. Okay, so I want to go back further to when you were a kid. I just feel like you've always been creative. Is that true? True or false?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Okay. So what are like some creative memories of like art making with kits, with family? Like what type of stuff were you making as a kid? What comes up for you for that?
Well, what's funny, so I always I did a lot of like drawing but when I was really little, I used to make like books a lot, which is so funny. Yeah. So when I was like a little kid, like I remember maybe like kindergarten age, I made like little educational books. Which is so funny. So I have like these little books that were like, construction paper that I like stapled together that were like a seed, and then the next page is like a sprout, and then the next page is like a plant, and then whatever. So like these kind of like I was like teaching my because those were books that was being read to me. And I was like, great, I'll make one too, you know?
That's awesome.
And then I remember doing like a dinosaur species one.
Cool.
Or something like that. When I was a little bit older, because I really liked doing that kind of thing. And I always liked making something that had like a purpose to it. I think that's the reason that clay really hits me too, is I liked, like whenever I would draw something and it was just a drawing, I was like, I don't really know what to do with this now. Like what does this do? Not that obviously art has like so many important like impacts in the world. But for me, I felt like I wanted like a purpose. That was like more specific. So like the books really made sense to me. I remember like drawing a house and then like pretending I was a painter, like a house painter, and like painting it and then waiting for it to dry and pretending I needed to repaint the house a different color and like repaint it. So it's these funny little things that were like almost like I should have been working in 3D at that point, you know, but like I, you know, was in kindergarten or whatever. So like didn't. So it was just like my little imaginative, like I was in the painting and now I'm a painter painting the house or something.
I love that. Which
is just like silly little like, you know, memories. But I used to make construction paper hats for my grandma's cat.
No.
Who was such a sweet cat. There's a picture of this just like, it's just like this like, you know, big oval with like cat ear holes in it, colored with crayon and like stuck on her head, and she's just sitting there like on the couch with this little hat on.
What was her name?
Stubby.
Stubby.
She was a chunky little cat with stubby little legs. She had a different name, but we called her Stubby because of her legs.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so how did she take to the hat?
She was fine with it. Yeah, she was just chilling.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
I love that we have 3 cat shout outs so far.
I know, like of course.
Obi.
Very on brand.
Yep.
For me.
Which is my Nana's cat that became you and Kevin's cat.
Yeah.
Maisie, Newbie, and now Stubby.
And Winston actually.
And
Winston.
So 4.
All the cats are getting
4 cat.
Yeah. Shout out to Jones too.
I know. Also R.I.P. Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah. My son tells anyone who will listen that Jones ran away into the woods, and it's okay because we're getting chickens now.
Oh.
Which I would love a chicken someday. And also he was like 1.5, I think, when this cat ran away. Yeah. I think it's just like the family story.
Yeah.
Has stuck with him. He knows the deal.
Yeah. That's so cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to do a lot of that kind of stuff. It's funny, there was this little booklet my mom works in a law office and did when I was a kid too. And so she got this like bound notebook for me that was kind of had like a, you know, the way that they would bind like a legal, you know, document or whatever. And so she gave it to me so I could like color in it and make something. So I wrote this like little story about a bird. And I was young enough at this point where like I was getting my D's and B's backwards. So it was a derb most of the time, but I wasn't sure. So sometimes it was a bird. You know, I kind of like flipped because I was like, I'm gonna hedge my bets here. Which one's which? And like it was a story about like the bird wanted to do a race and went through the woods and was like asking like these other animals if it would like come do this race with them. And
oh my god,
and at the end they like all showed up or something. Whatever. It was like a cute like little story. I don't know, that one just sticks in my head because it's like that thing of like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know how to like write words correctly. But as a kid, you don't worry about it. You just do it anyway. You're like, oh, I'm just gonna go for it and see, and then whatever, you know. And I think like that's the right energy to move forward with. It's like you might get your letters backwards, but at least you're like making the thing.
Yep.
And then next time you can get the letters right if you want to.
I love it.
Or maybe not. Maybe it's fun that they're backwards, you know? So, like, it's taken me a long time in my life to get to the point where, like, that feels free again. And I think that's one of the things that I feel so grateful for being in a creative community where, like, not only do I get to express that myself, but I can, like, really share that with a lot of adults. Like, a lot, to come back to Clay Lounge, like, we have so many people who come through who are like really accomplished and like smart and doing these like really important things for the world, and they get to come into class and be very silly, you know. They get to just do like whatever they think of, and they can take those like really they can be risky, they can do silly things, they can do whatever. It's like they get to kind of just like be a kid playing in mud, and like it takes a while for adults to relearn how to do it. And I feel really grateful to like have that be the thing that I get to share with people and like kind of coach them through a little bit, because people really have a hard time letting go, especially when they're used to needing to be like on top of their stuff, you know. So like we have people who are like researching like Lyme disease treatments and like getting their PhD and all sorts of biotech stuff because it's Boston, you know, and like surgeons and like all of these people who are doing these like really important things, and they should get to play too, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? Today I started my residency at the Hamilton Wade Douglas House in Brockton. So excited. Independent senior living community. And one of the women must have her granddaughter on Fridays. So it was a bunch of women, like it's 62 plus, and a 3-year-old.
So fun.
And it was awesome because, you know, I have all the sketchbooks out and I'm explaining to people there's no wrong way. We're just contributing. We're warming up. We're da-da-da. And, you know, a lot of them, they had that hesitancy feeling. And then when the 3-year-old show up, I gave her the exact same intro as everyone else, and she got right in.
Yeah.
And was just crushing. And it's like, okay, well, if she can do that.
Right. Why can't I?
Okay, we're just playing. Yeah. Like, there really is no way to mess this up. Like, you can just be free and make art. There's also some people who showed up to the event today who are artists and, you know, blew me away and did amazing work and totally get it. But like, and everyone in between.
Yeah.
And it kind of brings me back to your reporter question.
Yeah.
Of how do you feel that you're impacting the community with this work? And I mean, you look at Clay Lounge, in both Boston and Cambridge, and you look at this wait list, it's like a year and a half, maybe like, because people are, once you get in, they're slow to get out of those long-standing classes. Yeah. So it's like you're only having a couple spaces open up here and there. And what this tells me is that this, for some reason, is important to the community.
Yeah.
And I think just having it as a pressure release valve is one of the many things we could put on the list about why this type of work is important to the community.
Yeah, definitely that. I think also, like, it's funny, when we opened Somerville, we were like, oh, a bunch of people from our Boston studio are probably going to scoot over to Somerville because it's going to be a lot more convenient for them. Like, a lot of people are traveling over to the South End location. And when we opened to, like, maybe a couple people moved over, like, maybe, like probably less than 5, to be honest with you. And then a few people... Maybe more, but less than 10, like less than a dozen. Like, not that many people scooted over because they like their class, they like their community, they like their teacher, like they're there for their friends, you know. Yeah. So it's like you might have been in the class with these people for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Some people have been in the same class with the same people for like that long. And so it's like, it is the craft, but it's also, it's funny, someone reminded me recently, it's called like a third space. So it's like you have your work space, you have your home space, and then you need third spaces in communities where you gather, you know? And so like, it's not about the thing you're doing there, it's about being with other people that you might not come across in other instances in your life, you know? So we even had, you know, Boo. Boo and another woman who would take classes.
Moline.
Yeah, love her. And another woman who takes classes at Clay Lounge just did a retreat at the same place that you went, to Jackie Sedlock. And they loved
Jackie
it.
Sedlock out in Vermont, Cornwall, Vermont. Get out there. Great retreat space.
Yeah.
I did a retreat there last year. I was just there on my own. I think I was there for 3 nights, and I would spend the mornings and the days exploring her beautiful property, working on creative pathways, and then evenings was my pottery time. And I'd just go in, I don't have a slab roller here, so I made tons of slab stuff that kind of stocked myself up for the year for all the slab I would need, but just hanging out there was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, Boo's been going to the SOA location for a long time.
A while, yeah.
Oh, well, that's actually how we met her.
Yes.
She was going there first.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's...
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how we met her. Then she ended up coming to stuff on the South Shore, too.
Yeah. And so she and another woman who I'm pretty sure did not know each other before taking classes together. They just went up together for the weekend, or for, like, a few days. And they had a great time. And like they both we just got like hats for Clay Lounge. Like, Clay Lounge hats that say pottery hat on them. So they both like brought their little pottery hats. It was like just
fun.
so sweet that like the community that gets built is like so meaningful. And it's exactly the thing that you were saying of like, not only is it a space where people like gather, but also like, unlike a lot of other spaces, you can't be on your phone, you know. It's like your hands are dirty, you're here with other people, you might have to share tools, you might have to like, oh do you have that glaze, or you know. So it's like sort of inherently you have to kind of chat with people, and even if you're not chatting, you have to kind of listen to people, you know? It's like you might put on headphones. Some people put on headphones. A lot of people don't, actually. Because there's a lot of chatter through the class, like, and you know, we're always teaching things, so it's like good for people to like kind of hear what you're teaching. But yeah, I think the community is like even a bigger part of it than the clay itself. And I think like, you know, Jesse and everyone else at Clay Lounge, I feel like our kind of thought process is that on purpose. You know, it's like kind of community first, clay education second, you know? So it's like we want people to feel connected and like sharing in this experience, and then also make fun things.
Yeah.
You know? But then if the things that you make don't come out, you still got your buddies and they get it, you know, and they're also going through that same experience of like having your piece that you just spent this amount of time, the glaze didn't turn out right or whatever, you know. And I think that's a big piece of like why people stick with clay so much, is that there's like such a supportive community around it. Recently in one of my classes, we've had the same people in for like a really long time, and some of the students are teaching their other students the project that they just did, which is like, it's funny. I'll like see it and I'll like kind of be like, should I do my job? And I was like, no, I'm not gonna, like, you know.
Well, you kind of did.
Right, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, you've taught like, people in the class so well that they're confident in jumping in. Like, they don't have to jump in. They could just stay doing their own thing. But if people are helping each other out. And I find, I found that was so important coming up in a community studio, because even if you're not in a class, like even if you're just there making your own stuff, you're hearing the other conversations. You're seeing other people get their stuff out of their kilns. Hey, how'd you do that? Did that work? What glaze was that layered? And it's so funny. I'm thinking about the gym so much as this part of this conversation, as the third space.
Fun, yeah.
Because like I had my friend Gina here taking private lessons with me, and I noticed that she had a really great gym routine. And then I finally asked her about it one day, and then that's when she told me where she went, MSC. Yeah. Yep, great gym in Weymouth. If you go, drop my name because I'll get a referral fee. I think Bring a Friend Day is coming up too, or like fun. Bring a Friend Week. So if anyone wants to come with me, check it out.
So
but
cute.
Like, I never had an exercise routine. I literally just started going there because I'm like, oh, Gina, you go there to that place too. It used to be next to local pottery. I knew a bunch of people who were going there, and they were just all like fun, supportive, positive people. And I'm like, okay, I'm home. That's my space number one. And now I go to work, which is also in my home.
Right.
So I really didn't even have a space number two, but like kind of. But I just needed another space to get out and be around supportive people. And that's the same thing. So I go there. It's small group classes. A lot of the same people I've been seeing there for years now. You can't be on your phone, really. You're chatting with each other. I'm hearing the trainer talk to different people. They're helping me.
It is something kind of hard together. Like, you're both doing like, and kind of your own journeys, but like, it's kind of a little hard to do it.
Yes.
And you're like there together.
And it's been a few years now, maybe a little over 2 years now, and I'm jacked.
Yeah.
But like by accident.
Right.
I'm literally like not going, you know, of course I saw the benefits once I started learning about different ways to move my body. It was helping in work, in personal life. Like, I can do lots of things without getting hurt. I don't throw my back out anymore. Like, my body is very protected by itself now, just like the muscles, but also because I know how to move in it. Again, proprioception, right? Like muscle memory. So now when I'm moving, you know, a 50-pound box of clay in a tight space, my body's naturally snapping into the right position because I've been training to do that with even heavier things. But it really is like that idea of a third space is such a great way to get into anything new, and especially a creative thing, because it really is another way to loosen up the pressure of making something good or right. Or whatever. Like, you're just here to be in a part of community.
Totally.
And also, I mean, the world is a weird place right now, and I feel like people are kind of tightening up economically in a lot of ways. And I think when that happens, people look at their community. They try to shift into more experience-based things. So I think as artists, we're both trying to sell our work, but we're also, you know, we both started as educators as well. So like, thank the gods, we can lean into our work as educators and community builders as well, because I think we might need to do that.
Yeah, I know. Honestly.
And you have a gallery show up in Indiana right now.
Yep. Probably just about to wrap up, actually. It should
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, they have, and it was fun for me to do that particular show with them too, because it was kind of the first time I had a big group of this new work somewhere. And they asked me, I think kind of assuming that I would have like some stuff on hand, and I like didn't really have anything on hand that I wanted to send.
Bad news.
So I was like very quickly made all of it. And it was funny because like I started with like a much bigger plan of what I was going to send, and just losing things left and right. Like this one cracked, this one didn't work out, this one exploded.
Maisie chewed one.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know if she was to blame for any of these ones in particular, but we can. She probably was.
Throw her under the bus. She won't know.
So, but it was a fun experience to like do like a quick like kind of speed round of like, you know, stuff. And
I love a deadline sometimes. It really gets you just
grooving. Just hit it.
Like, sorry, can't clean today.
Right. I know.
Sorry,
laundry, that's gonna have to wait.
Sorry, self.
Yeah.
Sorry, future Beth.
I know. But yeah, so that's super fun. And then I have a batch of work I'm working on right now that I'm going to be sending to the Worcester Center for Craft, which I'm really excited about.
Yay!
And they wanted mostly my slip trailing work, so that's so I'm not like dropping that work right now. I'm still doing it, which is fun.
Okay. So what is that show? Is that going to be with a group?
So that's just in their shop. I'm just going to be one of their artists in their shop now.
Oh, great.
Which is really cool. So, so I've worked with them on, they had like a vase kind of call to art show that I did maybe about a year ago. And then I did their like summer market, Hot Night in the City, which actually I might do again this year. I was trying to kind of keep my schedule really light. And then the other day I was like, actually, I'm just going to apply to a few more things.
This sounds like the age-old story of Kaila. Kaila, this is every year. I think I'm going to go a little... I'm getting married. I'm planning an entire wedding. You did go lighter last year,
I did go lighter, but I was going to go even lighter this year. And then I was like, maybe I won't.
It's hard when your job is also your passion and your fun. I mean, that's what they say, right? Like, do something you love. You never work a day in your life and all that. Like,
I know.
It really is true, but it's almost to the point where it's like, I'm now neglecting my children because I'm like, I'll give you breakfast in a minute. I just got to go unload the kiln.
Right.
I just got to go check something. Wait, where are you going? The other day they got home from, like, I think my parents were watching them. They dropped them off, and I had been working, so I was in the basement. So I greet them all as they're all coming in through the garage. And I'm like, oh, great. How was your day? Da-da-da. And my 3-year-old, okay, Mommy, you come upstairs and you don't go back downstairs to work. I'm like, there's all sorts of ways that you, like, accidentally traumatize your kids, but maybe it's okay if mine is, like, neglect due to passion.
Yeah, I think so. Like, it's...
Please?
So I'm like, it's got to be. That's got to be fine.
It's going to be okay.
That's so cute, though.
I know, it really is cute. But then I try to lure them down and make work with me.
Right.
And that works sometimes, but they don't have the attention span that I do.
They don't want to
just
do it
like
for
laser focus. That was one of the reasons going to Jackie Sedlock's in Vermont was so amazing for me. Yeah. And she actually like checked in on me a couple times. Just almost like, are you okay?
Are you still in here? Yeah.
Like, because it was like a fever dream because I had no other jobs, no children, no family obligation. I was there by myself. I'd gone to the grocery store before. I had my leftovers. I did not leave that property. For the most part. Of course, I did go make some community connections at the library, as one does.
Of course, yeah.
I now have relationships with people in a little boutique there too. But
sounds like the classic Beth story.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I was just like feverishly working the whole time, like a maniac, and it felt so good.
When's the last time that you've like had like a separate space, you know, for working? It's like you've worked from home ever since you've had Hazel, really, right? So like, you've always had to be multitasking at all times, you know, so it probably was like insanely cool to like just like sit down and like do it
hyper focus
uninterrupted.
Oh my gosh, it was so nice. Okay, so you're getting ready to send out a batch of work to them.
Yes.
You have work available for sale at Clay Lounge. Where else is your work? In Good Company?
I have a little bit there, I think.
In Good Company in Southie.
Some mugs at a coffee shop in Brighton called Cafe Nation, which they're so good. If you go there, get their hazelnut mocha.
Oh,
it
okay.
is incredible. Also, I've heard that their matcha is good, but I always just get the hazelnut mocha. So okay. I don't know. I'm sure I'm forgetting places.
I'll link them all. I'll link them all in the show notes.
In Dorchester, the local hand.
Yes.
And then literally local in Brookline Village.
Of course.
And I'll think of the others. But I think there's one or two more. But I always have work over in Indiana as well. So that's someone, they kind of keep work for me all the time.
But then you're doing markets too.
And then so markets.
People are buying from you in person. Yep. So your email list, I find, is a great way to stay on top of your stuff.
Yeah.
We're friends, we're family, but I'm also your email subscriber. And I'm glad because we both have a lot going on. So it is nice to get that email once in a while and just be like, oh, damn, Kaila.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Well, and so part of the reason I want to do fewer markets, so one big market I'm doing this year that I'm really excited about is the North River Arts Society Arts Festival, which is my favorite. And I couldn't do it last year because I had a friend's bachelorette party, which was also super fun. But I'm really excited to be able to do it this year.
Memorial Day weekend this year. You guys, you got to come. There's a giant puppet parade.
Yes.
Giant puppet parade.
When I tell people about it, I tell them about you being the butterfly in the giant puppet parade. And just I've never seen someone so in their element. You were just
I was so happy.
Born to be that butterfly.
I was so happy. Yeah. It's this whole so backpack cute. Apparatus that goes on and then the butterfly body goes up. It's her face up there. Large wings that you're controlling by these rods. So it's just a backpack and you're holding two rods. So very easy to move around. I think Sally Dean made that. And, hopefully I'll get to wear another puppet or make a puppet. But food vendors, free music, gallery shows, tons of artisan vendors. There was comedic magician acrobat guy performing. He's a local guy too.
So fun.
Colin, I feel like his name's Colin or something. I don't know. So much going on.
Yeah.
And that market, so I feel has been going on for a long time, and people know that it's a well-curated artisan market, and so sales were pretty decent for vendors.
Incredible. For one of my best markets. It's funny, that and the Wicked Women's Markets are the best markets I ever do. And I do it's funny, I've done a lot in Boston. I've done and you sort of maybe assume the city would maybe be better for sales, but Marshfield shows up.
Yeah.
It's a great arts community. People just really are there to support, and it's it's my favorite town to do a market in, honestly.
I know.
Yeah.
And I do think a lot of it is because it's artist initiative.
Yeah.
So North River Art Society is an organization anyone can join. And it's run by artists, and it's for artists. And they even have just open studio times at North River where you can just go hang out in their studio space and make your work alongside other people. You don't even have to be doing anything fancy or whatever. It's just...
That's cool. I know that. They have a lot of classes too. I'm on their email list.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of fun looking things.
I want to bring a creative pathways class there, but I just haven't solidified on how that would happen, because I'm typically going to pre-existing groups. I'm going to work at this apartment building. I'm working with the teen group at the library. I'm trying to get a program going for a group of homeschoolers. Yeah. But a program where people would just register as independent students. I don't know. Maybe it would because normally I do greeting cards, but
yeah, I think if you I wonder if you framed it as kind of what they're making out of it.
Yeah.
People would understand it more than process based.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we've been doing that a little bit with classes at Clay Lounge. We're kind of trying out some mug specific classes or planter specific. So then it's easier for people who aren't kind of in an arty brain space to understand, because oh, I'm gonna go and make some cards, that's fun, and then they show up and you explain the whole thing, and then they can get it from there.
And
but
they go, oh,
right but ahead of time, if it sounds too complex, they might kind of be that doesn't seem like it's for me.
Yeah absolutely. So you're doing North River Market this summer. Yep. Any other markets popping up in your head right now? Again, I'll link all of these.
Yeah. So those are the ones that I'm currently signed up for. Oh, in the Somerville Open Studios at Clay Lounge, Somerville. Yeah. So that's next weekend. So I don't know if this will come out.
I know. This will come out. I think it will. I think it'll come out maybe Tuesday.
Great. Okay.
Next week.
So Somerville Open Studios is super fun anyway. People should buy bop around to all the
What are their
all the
dates?
studios.
What date is it next week?
May 3rd and 4th. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
May 3rd and 4th. Okay,
Yeah.
so May 3rd and 4th. So, yeah. So if anyone's in the Somerville area, that's great because it's not just the studio buildings. It's also individual artists' homes. Like home studios open up too.
Totally. Like Julie Peck.
Yeah.
And she always has a bunch of people like Wayne first come. And it's really cool. If I wasn't doing one, I would be going there.
I know. I need to go there because I have a Wayno mug that broke and I have the shards of it in my studio because I refuse to throw it away until I get a replacement Wayno mug. So I'll see you at Somerville Open Studios.
I know. Some of my most used cups are Wayne's cups for sure.
Yeah.
They're just so good. But then I'm trying to do some more online sales. So that'll be like, if people are interested in that, like the newsletter is kind of where I announce that the most, or Instagram.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be an online sales girly now.
Okay, I love it. So that's Instagram. You're at Kaila Gilmore Pottery.
Yep.
And your website is?
KailaGilmorePottery.com.
Love it.
Easy peasy.
Simple.
Or if you remember my old name, you can find me through that.
Kayla Braley.
I have both URLs. So, so the website goes both.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so nice that you have my maiden name, though, because I love my Beth Bailey situation, but Gilmore is a good name.
It's a good one. Yeah. It's fun. We like almost swapped last names. It's like very close to swapping.
I know. I know. Braley Bailey.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So anything else? What else? Any other fun summer plans? You and Kevin are going to be traveling.
Yes, we're going to Europe. We were just talking about it this morning. We're going for Jesse's wedding.
Yay! Congrats, Jesse.
So that'll be October.
And Meredith.
So I've never been to Europe before, so I'm really excited. So we're going to France. They're getting married in France. So we're going to go into Paris, travel down to Toulouse area.
Cool.
And then we'll have like another whole week to do our own thing. So, and that'll be our year anniversary that week as well. So we'll be in Europe for it.
have also never been to Europe, and so immediately in my mind, I'm just like, you're going to be seeing castles.
Right. I think so, though.
Right?
I think that's what it's like.
Anyone else ever left the South Shore? Not us.
Castles everywhere.
Castles everywhere. Can confirm, please. But I feel like I just can't wait to see how any influences you see end up infusing into your work.
I know. Yeah. There's going to be, I think a bunch. So we'll probably maybe go to Spain as well.
Great.
So some like Spanish tile. Maybe,
yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited.
Awesome.
Yeah, it'll be so fun.
Well, thank you so much for coming down and doing this.
Thanks for having me. I was like worried I wouldn't have enough to say, and of course I had no trouble yapping. So
I know. Well, it's like we could just talk about whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Totally.
Yep. So what do you got for the rest of the day? I am maybe going to glaze a little bit more. I got soccer practice in an hour.
Fun.
And then chilling with the kids.
Are they both playing soccer?
No, Max plays on the sidelines while Hazel plays on the field.
Yeah.
It's just practice today though. Yeah.
We might go see a movie.
Great.
Yeah, might go see a movie. Kevin got Letterboxd, that like app where you like rate movies.
Oh.
And now he's watching a lot of movies.
More?
Well, maybe the same amount, but he's rating them.
That's great.
So it's more of a conversation.
That's awesome. I love it. Good.
But it's fun. So yeah, it's funny. Like as he sees a movie, sometimes he has to go back and like re-rate old ones because it's like, oh, this movie should be this, but then that means that like Saw 3 can't be as good as I said it was or something.
Oh my
go back
gosh.
and like re-rate them like worse or better or whatever.
I love it.
To like account for it. He's like doing a good job. He's great at like data. So he's like keeping it authentic, like real,
This is fantastic.
Legit.
He's going to be able to sell this list eventually.
Yeah.
This will be like a add-on download from your newsletter list.
Right.
That you can get Kevin's
Follow
movie ratings.
I'll put little stars like with the ones that I've seen.
Yeah.
Which is a lot less of them, I would say. Mostly just because he likes a lot of like scary movies. So I just like go do something else while he's watching the movie.
Yeah, like throw a pot.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right.
Okay.
We could keep going forever.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Kayla.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. You're the best. Mwah.